On today's episode of Hello Road, I'm once again spending way too much time looking for rad cars from the 80s and 90s. Let's go. Montage time. Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. So if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the cars from the 80s and 90s, especially forgotten and unloved cars from that era. Over the years, I've owned many of them and often like to take these cars on road trips and adventures. I finally got my car fleet down to a manageable level, so I shouldn't really be buying a new car right now, but it's always fun to look. The good thing is that I'm not one for expensive cars. I prefer to try to find decent values, so I'll try to keep that in mind when doing my search. But as the cars from this era grow in popularity, finding good deals on them is getting a bit more difficult. But they're still out there if you search. And many of the vehicles that I'm interested are weird or mostly forgotten, so some of my choices aren't exactly collectible or valuable. I also tend to like cars that were unloved back in the day or maybe didn't sell very well, so today these can be a bit tough to find, but I'm always up for a challenge. So today let's fire up Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and Auto Tempest in your web browsers, and let's get searching.
It's Lotus tuned suspension perfected by the engineers who designed Grand Prix cars.
Now I talked about the second gen Isuzu Impulse in a previous video, but today let's talk about the first gen. Known as the Isuzu Piazza outside of North America and the Holden Piazza in Australia, this first gen Impulse has an interesting history. The sheet metal was designed by none other than Giorgetto Giugiaro, but the underpinnings are related to the lowly Chevrolet Chevette. The first Piazza was built in 1980, and we got this first Impulse here in the US from 83 to 89. We only got a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder for the first 2 years, but after that a 2-liter turbocharged variant was available. These cars had Lotus tuned suspension, though later models were more dialed in than earlier ones. The Impulse Turbo provided decent performance for the era and looked pretty rad too. Motor Week praised its handling, but noted that a fully loaded Mustang GT was the same price and gave you more for your money. Not many of these were sold in the US. Maybe they were too expensive, maybe few buyers liked the idea of an Isuzu sports car. Either way, very few are left on the roads today. I think I've only seen maybe like 2 or 3 in my entire life. Okay, let's see what we can find. Auto Tempest has come up with nothing. Let's check out Craigslist. Here's one for $6,600. What's going on with this one? Sitting on rollers, that's not a good sign. My guess is that maybe this thing is not running. It's got some dents. It's got a manual transmission. Oh yeah, but that hood is really messed up. A big dent on the side too. Let's see if it's actually running. Okay, no, it's been sitting since 1999. So yeah, 25 years not running. I'm guessing that this needs some work. But I guess if you really absolutely want an Impulse, you might have to spend a lot of money for one because there's just so few left. Let's see what else we can find. Nope, 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 nope. So far we found one, and it's kind of expensive. Okay, so if you live in the United States and you want an Isuzu Impulse right now, a first gen, you probably have to buy this one right here because I can't find any other ones. All right, off to the next one. Sera. You might not believe it, but there was once a time when Toyota made weird cars, and one of the most unique vehicles that they built was the Sera. Built from 1990 to 96, this JDM vehicle was never sold in the States, and it's a shame because it's so quirky and cool. Butterfly doors, wraparound glass with a panoramic view, giving you the convertible experience without the messy hair. The same 104 horsepower 1.5 liter 4-cylinder found in the Paseo and Starlet isn't exactly stout, but the vehicle is light enough to be fun to drive. The butterfly doors are super rad, but also useful. They can be opened fully in a relatively confined space. The expansive glass canopy can make the cabin a bit warm on sunny days, so Toyota provided roof panels that can be put in place. And if I find a Sera to purchase, it absolutely needs to have the optional Super Live surround system, mainly because it has a casual and funky setting. I think everybody needs a funky setting in their car, right? And the speakers in the back can rotate to point either directly in the car or bounce off the rear window. That's pretty rad. So they built just under 16,000 of these cars, and a few have been imported to the States. Can we find one? Let's find out. Okay, there's a couple here. These are pretty expensive. This 94 looks to be in really good shape. It's only got 35,000 miles on it. Look at those floor mats. Those are insanely cool. And there's those butterfly doors. Doesn't appear to have the sound system though. $22,000, okay. Yeah, that's kind of expensive. I was hoping for something a little bit cheaper than that. All right, so this other one, they're asking just under 17. Oh, I really like this blue color. These are just such cool looking cars. I want it. It doesn't have cool floor mats though. You think they could have actually thrown in some new floor mats for a car they're asking 17 grand for, but that's fine. A little bit too rich for my blood though. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh, here's one, 10 grand, Charleston, South Carolina. Let's take a look at this one right here. Red with aftermarket black wheels, 136,000 miles. It's got those pretty rad floor mats. It's manual transmission. There's a little bit of rust here and there. But yeah, pretty cool if you don't want to import one yourself. Oh, here's a few more. This one looks like it's in really nice shape, this maroon color, 96,000 miles. Automatic transmission, not my favorite, but you know, it's not like this is a sports car, so it doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, that one looks like it's in really, really nice shape. Now, of course, one other option is importing one of these from Japan, and that process is kind of long and tedious, but it can be done if you really want a Sera. Okay, off to the next one.
Chrysler creates a more powerful Laser because the competition is always on our tail, and we intend to keep them there.
You might be familiar with the Dodge Daytona, but many people forget about its sibling, the Chrysler Laser. In 1984, Chrysler attempted to lure enthusiasts away from import showrooms with the Laser, the first real sports car from the brand. The Laser Turbo churned out 142 horsepower from a 2.2-liter inline-4. The Turbo was quite capable from a performance perspective. Chrysler's marketing showcased it outmaneuvering a Nissan 300ZX in slalom tests, outperforming a Pontiac Trans Am in braking, and even outpacing a Chevrolet Camaro Z28 in a 0 to 50 mph sprint. Not only could it keep up with the big dogs, it also provided a good amount of luxury with Mark Cross leather sport seats and an optional state-of-the-art digital dashboard. Despite their efforts, competition was strong and buyers didn't exactly flock to the idea of a Chrysler sports car. So they killed it off just 3 years after it debuted. The Laser is an often forgotten car, but I think it deserves to be remembered. Let's see if we can find any. Ooh, here's one in California, not too far from me, $4,500. This is pretty exciting. Let's click on this one. Ooh, I love this red color. It's got kind of basic wheels, but this thing is pretty rad. Ooh, a beige interior. Automatic transmission, but this thing looks like it's in pretty good shape, just under 70,000 miles. But it does look pretty rad. Let's see if we can find another one. Okay, this one looks like it's in really rough shape, but I do like this black color. I don't know what they call this wheel, but it looks like a sort of like a Swiss cheese wheel. Yeah, it needs some work, $1,500. Yeah, that's in pretty rough shape. But if you really, really want a Laser and you want a project on your hands, this could be an option. All right, let's see, is there another Laser here? Yes, there is, one in Ohio. Let's click on this one. All right, this is an 85. They're asking $6,000, which seems pretty reasonable. It says it has no rust. It's the 5-speed manual. Oh, I love this thing. I might have to go to Ohio and buy this like today. That is super cool. $6 grand for this car, I think that's kind of worth it. Okay, so there's a few Lasers available. That one in Ohio, I think I just have to go get it right now. All right, off to the next one.
Introducing the Volkswagen Fox. At $5,690, it's German engineering everyone can afford.
The next car on my list is something that I've already owned. Actually, I've owned 2 of them, the Volkswagen Fox. This no-frills car is also known as the Volkswagen Gol in like 5 other names depending on where it's sold. I guess the Volkswagen marketing team in the 1980s just couldn't decide on a name. Ultimately, this car was most popular in Brazil as it was manufactured there. And you might not remember, but Volkswagen really thought the Fox was going to be the second coming of the insanely successful Beetle. But as we all know now, that never did quite happen.
An idea whose time has come and gone has come again.
Volkswagen of North America wanted an entry-level model to compete with the influx of low-priced cars like the Hyundai Excel. They initially offered the Fox as a 2-door, a 4-door, and a 2-door wagon. Powered by a longitudinally mounted 1.8-liter inline-4, the Fox produced a whopping 81 horsepower. An 11-second 0 to 60 time was nearing snail territory, but it still wasn't as slow as an Excel. And it actually had independent suspension, a rare sight on an economy car from the era. While the Fox provided decent, simple transportation, it just wasn't really all that competitive with its rivals. It lacked power, it lacked creature comforts, it didn't have class-leading fuel economy, and it was considerably more expensive. It never really sold all that well in the US, so finding one now can be a bit of a challenge, but let's see what we can come up with. Oh, look at this one. Here's a Fox GL. It's It's on eBay. They're asking $5,500. So this is one of the post-facelift later models. You can see the headlights are a little bit different than the earlier models. Yeah, this thing looks like it's in really nice shape. It's a 5-speed manual, 55,000 miles. Yeah, so this thing is a low mile example. Let's see what else we can find. Actually, there's quite a few. Okay, so this 89 looks almost identical to the 87 that I had. 109,000 miles. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. These cars are kind of adorable, aren't they? This red one, also in New York. Okay, so this one's kind of rough, has some paint issues. Only 115,000 miles though. They say it runs good. Who knows what that means? Yeah, so that's an option. What about this one in Pennsylvania? Also looks like a big project. For $900, might be a good 24 Hours of Lemons car. Thank you for blocking your license plate. Okay, so there's a couple more. Here's one in Florida. Got some pretty fancy aftermarket wheels on it. $8,500 for this thing. That's a lot, but it looks like it's in pretty good shape. Really, only 17,000 miles, is that for sure? Is that real? I don't know if I buy that. Anyway, here's one for $1,000. A lot of projects here we're finding today. This one has a bad fuel pump according to the seller. Wait a second. Why does the front end look so different? Is this a Quantum? I'm not sure what's going on here. This looks like a Fox that has been swapped out with a Volkswagen Quantum front end. So somebody that knows more about Volkswagens than I do, let me know what's going on with this listing. I can't figure it out. All right, here's one for $700. A lot of these Foxes are very cheap. Oh, this is actually a wagon. So these are incredibly rare. I actually own one of these for a while. And yeah, these are extremely hard to come by. Even though this one looks like garbage, it's probably worth the asking price if you have time to actually make this thing look nice. All right, so a lot more Foxes are available than I was originally anticipating. Okay, off to the next one. Next up is a weird little bug-eyed hatchback. This is the Nissan NX2000. This egg-shaped Sentra-based sport compact car essentially replaced the Pulsar NX and was only sold in the US from the 91 to 93 model years. It competed with small sporty compacts like the Mazda MX-3, Honda del Sol, and the Toyota MR2, back in an era when people still bought two-door sporty cars. The NX was available here in two flavors, the NX1600, which came with a 1.6-liter four-cylinder, but I'm more interested in the NX2000, which was the sportier of the two, outfitted with the now iconic SR20DE 2-liter four-cylinder, making a respectable 140 horsepower. The NX2000 was mechanically related to the very capable Sentra SER, but stepped things up a notch, including larger brakes, more aggressive tires, and wider wheels. The NX2000 had an extremely lightweight, stiff chassis and was touted as being one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars of its era. But ultimately, the weird styling may have been the demise of this ovoid machine. From what I could find, it looks like possibly 22,000 NXs were sold in the US during its 3-year run, with just over 9,000 of those being NX2000s. The NX is mostly forgotten today, but back in the day, it was an extremely capable machine. Can we find one for sale today? Okay, so there is a Nissan Sunny NX, which is the imported version from Japan, and there's also a NX1600, not exactly what I want. So I think I saw this Sunny for sale like 3 or 4 months ago. It's been for sale for quite a while, but I'm guessing there's just not a huge market for these cars. So this one looks like it's in pretty good shape. It's got some aftermarket stuff that I'm not really a huge fan of, but oh, it's an automatic. That's why it's not sold yet. Nobody wants this car as an automatic. Anyway, looks awesome. Oh, it's got this really cool digital dashboard. All right, let's take a look at this 92. So this is a very steep price, 22 grand for an NX1600. It's not even the 2000. So I'm thinking this seller might need to lower their price a little bit if they actually want to sell this car. I mean, I love how it looks. I mean, I'm hoping maybe it has like 2 miles on it or something. Let's take a look. 160,000 miles? No, I'm not sure what's going on here. This car is not worth $22,000. I love it. It's not worth that much. All right, here's one in Schenectady, New York, 157,000 miles. This is an NX2000. They say it's stock. Yeah, it's got some rust. I'm not surprised considering where it's from. But yeah, that could be an option if you don't mind a little bit of rust. $4,200. All right, here's a couple. There's a 1600 right here. Manual transmission, it's got T-tops, it's been sitting a while, it's got the cool digital dash, needs a lot of interior work. What are they asking for this? 1,800 bucks? Yeah, if you want a really unique project, that could be pretty cool. Here's another one in Colorado. Terrible tiny photos, but yeah, looks kind of rough, but $10,000, what? All right, here's an NX2000 in Washington. It's only $2,000. I'm guessing there's probably an issue with it, but let's click on it and find out. Yep, engine has a knock. It needs to be replaced. Ran when parked. Well, the good news is you can still find SR20 motors, so if you really wanted to put a new engine in this thing, you could. That might not be a bad deal right there. Buy this and get a used engine from Japan to throw in this car. All right, I think that's it. We found more than I thought we were going to find. I think some of them are very optimistically priced, but there's a few projects in here that might be worth checking out. Okay, off to the next one.
There's a new excellence. It's a proud sense of achievement.
What luxury roadster from the late 80s and early 90s used an airplane as part of its assembly line? The Cadillac Allanté. In the early to mid 80s, General Motors was stuck in a cycle of badge engineering and some might say substandard quality compared to many of the imported cars hitting the market. To counteract this increasing threat from foreign automakers, GM decided that Cadillac needed a high-tech, high-design halo car to boost the brand's image and credibility. The goal was to cement Cadillac's reputation as a luxury brand that could compete with the likes of Mercedes and Jaguar. Introduced in 1987, the Allanté was an ambitious entry into the luxury landscape, with a sleek exterior and interior designed by Pininfarina, the esteemed Italian coach builder. And the assembly of the Allanté included a very unusual step: airplanes. So I think this is kind of nuts. The vehicle's bodies were actually manufactured by Pininfarina in Italy and then flown to a GM plant in Michigan in batches of about 50 using a specially modified Boeing 747. Upon arrival, these bodies were then mounted onto the chassis that was built in Michigan, adding an extra layer of complexity to its production. At the time, a GM exec called it the longest assembly line in the world. Cadillac's new flagship featured fully independent suspension and 3 different V8 engines throughout its 7-year run. Even though initially it had modest acceleration, the Allanté was well received in the automotive press. Car and Driver gave it first place in 2 luxury convertible shootouts in '89 and '92, besting Mercedes and Jaguar. The Allanté stood out as an elegantly designed convertible with a distinctly clean and modern appearance that set it apart from other Cadillac models of the era. GM forecasted sales of about 6,000 to 8,000 per year, but the shockingly high price of $54,700, which is $149K in today's dollars, kept many potential buyers away. The Allanté ran from '87 to '93 with just over 21,000 built during its 7-year production run. Today, the Allanté is often forgotten, but I think it should be remembered because it was at a time when GM took a chance with an audacious production process. Let's see if we can find one. Now, I actually think there's going to be quite a few Allantés because I think people really love these cars and probably tried their best to take care of them. Okay, there's a lot to choose from here. Here's a red one for just under $15,000. It's got just over 50,000 miles. These wheels, these are not my favorite. Those are terrible. Anyway, swap out those wheels with something nicer and this might be kind of a nice looking car. 15 grand, I don't know, might be worth it. I'm not sure, it depends on how much you like Allantés, but there are a lot of others to choose from. Here's a nice black convertible. This is a 91. They are asking just 5 grand for this car. It looks like it's in really nice shape. Here's another red one with very chrome, very 90s wheels. 80,000 miles, they're asking 13 grand for this car right here. Very, very boxy dashboard, I love that. Yeah, it's in really, really nice shape. All right, so I think I found the Allanté that I want. It's this beige one right here. I don't know what it is, I just love it. It's beige with a red stripe. It's just kind of amazing in my opinion. This is the one I want. How much are they asking for this? 16 grand, that's pretty cool. I don't wanna spend 16 grand on an old Cadillac. But if you're really into Allantés, there are a lot of really good examples out there. Okay, so which one of these vehicles would you want in your garage? Unfortunately, I kind of want all of them, but I think I do want to keep an eye out for the Nissan NX2000. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can get notified of all my videos. If you want to help support the channel, please consider buying a Hello Road t-shirt, like the Broken Ford Probe t-shirt that I'm wearing right here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.
Allanté is the result of our desire to design all the characteristics of luxury automobiles that are the benchmark by which all other